This is Congressman Lee Zeldin at the AIPAC Policy Conference, and you're watching Rabbi Doug.
We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug on your TV tonight. But Daddy, I want to watch Monday Night Football.
Forget about Monday Night Football. There's no other thing we're gonna watch on Monday but Rabbi Doug.
Yeah, Rabbi Doug on TV tonight. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. Oh, everybody talk about Doug.
Shalom and welcome to Taped with Rabbi Doug. We're here at AIPAC 19, Part 1, here on Taped with Rabbi Doug, and 3 years in a row, opening up the show with Rabbi Shmuley Boteach, the other TV rabbi. Rabbi Boteach.
You're the TV rabbi. I just live in your shadow.
Just in my shadow. So tell me, Shmuley, your book with Pamela Anderson, another gala coming up this year. What's in the works in the future for the Shalom and Home Rabbi?
We're gonna take over the whole world. Don't you want to conquer the world?
Hey, if I can conquer it with you any day.
No. Our ambitions are much more modest. We're doing a lot of interesting things. We had a full-page ad in the Washington Post about Ilhan Omar that has created a very big storm. We were able to show that the speeches she's been giving about Jews of dual loyalty or using their money to buy politicians are really sourced in the protocols of the Elders of Zion. We actually showed the language. That was a full-page ad in the Washington Post. Yeah, I mean the use of language and the synonymous use of language is just remarkable. Our gala is at Carnegie Hall. We try our best for Israel.
Every year.
Well, the activism for Israel is constant. And the threats to the Jewish people are now greater than ever.
Very nice. Now we have two things connect. First of all, I want to wish you Mazel Tov. Your daughter got married this past year. And then your nephew got married to one of the Morgenstens, to Karen Danziger's niece, right? Your nephew or your niece?
My nephew.
Your nephew, right? Got married to
yes.
To their,
years ago.
To their,
yeah, but big family.
To their, you're related to them, to their child. And so tell me what other activist activities are going on with you besides about Omar? Have you been going around on speaking engagements still all the time?
Yeah, I just came from a lecture tour in Australia and New Zealand. I was in New Zealand the day before that horrific massacre of our Muslim brothers and sisters in two mosques in Christchurch. I was in the capital of Wellington, and I was there the day before it happened. It's just hard to believe. But my wife's Australian, and speaking to the Jewish community of Australia was a great honor. I also did a lot of media there for some books that I just authored. And I have a book coming out in a few months, God willing, about the Holocaust. It's called Holocaust Holiday: One Family's Descent into Genocide Memory Hell. And it's about when you take your children to the killing fields of Europe and how you explain this unspeakable story.
All right, very good.
Thank you for having me.
Keep up the good work. Your activism for Israel is just absolutely beyond belief. How you devote yourself to it. Still doing television regularly?
I'm doing it right now.
And your newspaper articles, incredible. Your columns,
thank you.
Really always meaningful and touch everyone. Rabbi Shmuley Boteach,
thank you.
the Shalom at Home Rabbi, here on Taped with Rabbi Doug. Stay with us here at AIPAC 19.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming to this stage the former United States of America ambassador to the United Nations, Ms. Nikki.
If I'm ever having a bad day, I just need to come here. It's amazing every single time.
It's amazing.
I love you too.
Clear to say the ambassador has some fans here. That's well earned. Ambassador, I'm going to start with the devastating breaking news though from this morning. Last night, Hamas launched rockets from Gaza that smashed into a home right outside of Tel Aviv, injuring a family of 7, including a toddler and an infant. Now, it seems that if a terrorist group had launched a rocket some 75 miles outside of any major city from any country in this world, the expectation would be an outpour of sympathy. It seems as if, except that city is Israel, or country is Israel, rather. My question to you is this: you are uniquely positioned inside of the UN. Please help us understand what those conversations are like after a tragic attack like this. What is said, how is it contemplated, and how in this exact type of instance you were able to time and time again make sure that it was clear that the U.S. stood with Israel in this type of event?
You know, what's interesting is that the UN, I can guarantee you this morning, it is radio silent. They are not saying anything about Hamas. They're not saying anything about the lives lost. They're not saying anything. But if it was any one of those countries, they'd be calling an emergency security council meeting. But this is where I want you to have hope. Because in all these years, last year for the first time, the majority of the general membership of the UN voted for a resolution that acknowledged Hamas and acknowledged the terror that they were spreading and acknowledged how bad they were. That was an amazing thing. And what we have to make sure they know is Hamas is a terrorist group that needs to be stopped, and we can't ever be quiet about it.
Quick follow-up on that. Why does it seem that the UN historically has focused on the Israeli response to an attack like this versus the attack itself?
I mean, it's just, you know, what I've learned is at the UN, it's just been this way for so long that they do that. But the story behind one of my meetings was I was meeting with a couple of Arab countries, and we were talking about Yemen. And one of them said, I just don't understand, you know, why isn't anyone calling out Hezbollah? Why aren't they sitting there saying something about what's being done? All of these things that are happening, because they were upset that that terrorist group was doing something they shouldn't be doing. And I turned around and I said, well, if you're upset about that, what's the difference between that and Hamas and Israel? They were stunned, but when our meeting was over, they pulled me to the side and they said, you know, you're right. We know you're right, but we have to do this for our constituents. That's what they're doing this for. It's for sound bites for their constituents. They don't honestly think that way. It's just they've done it for so long. They do what they think they've always had to do.
Looking back at your tenure at the UN, you have so many of them, but please share what you feel were some of your brightest accomplishments, particularly those of concern to AIPAC here today.
Still being alive today. Surviving the UN was surviving, and I still have my heels on, by the way.
Absolutely.
You know, I think that, and I hope everybody in this audience is really proud of what we accomplished at the UN. Because if we just go down the list, we got out of UNESCO. We got out of the Iran deal and pointed the finger where it needed to be pointed, which was on Iran. We got out of the Human Rights Council, which for once now other countries are actually holding the burden and realizing they need to do something about the anti-Israel bias. We got them to acknowledge Hamas for the first time. And by the way, we moved the embassy to Jerusalem. We got the Israeli bashing session that happened every month to not sit there and just bash Israel. We actually started a conversation about what really are the issues in the Middle East. like what was happening in Yemen, like what was happening with terrorists, like what we were trying to do in all of these other countries that mattered, as opposed to it being about Israel. And I think everyone in this audience should be so proud, because you pushed and you hoped and we won by doing all of those things.
Now, you just mentioned it there, the focus, the extreme focus, I'll call it, on Israel and the UN. Now, I know when you were first named ambassador, you were a bit taken aback, right, by just how incredibly narrow that focus was on Israel within the UN. Were there any particular moments of kind of strict scrutiny around Israel that stood out to you?
It was, you know, you guys have heard me say this before. It was like everybody was bullying this kid in the corner. And it was abusive, and it was wrong, and it was just unwarranted. That was the biggest thing, is it was unwarranted. Here was, you know, such a strong democracy sitting in a neighborhood that's so dangerous. And in any other situation, you'd be lifting that country up and having their back. And instead, they were kicking them. And so, you know, really when you see something like that, whether it's Israel or anything else, you have to stand up and fight. You have to stand up and fight for those that don't think they can stand up for themselves. You look at Israel now, Israel's alive and kicking. And they're going to continue to do that.
Ambassador, what do you think the motivation is? Why is there such reluctancy to have some sense of fairness and balance when it comes to Israel and the UN?
I think this goes back to after the 1967 war. I think that everyone suddenly realized that Israel couldn't be defeated. And what that meant was they had to go after them diplomatically. And so all of the Arab countries led the charge on going after them diplomatically. And because of their influence, because of the oil, because of so many other reasons, other countries felt the need to follow them. And that is why towards the end, we absolutely called out the Arab countries on what they were doing. And we need to keep doing that. Because at the end of the day, I don't know that they believe this anymore. I think they've done it because they always have. But even, you could see the embarrassment. You could see the fact none of the countries wanted to be called out. You could see the fact that they were actually looking in the mirror. And I think we just can't let up on that.
I want to talk about Iran, because it's crystal clear to everybody in this room that they have been ratcheting up the aggression every day. What do you think that America, that our allies in Europe and beyond really need to be doing in order to respond to this hyper-aggression from Iran?
I think we have to isolate Iran like we isolated North Korea. Because they're one and the same. They're doing the same thing. They're suppressing their people. They're building up their military weapons. I mean, we have to separate them and make them feel isolated. And I think we did that by getting out of the Iran deal. I think the Europeans are starting to realize that that's not going to be sustainable, and they're going to have to come up with another option. I think we need to stop with the waivers. If you are doing business with Iran, you want to talk about BDS. If you are doing business with Iran, that's who we should be talking about in terms of a country that we don't want to have any companies do business with.
Finally, I want to know what you're up to right now. I know you started an amazing organization called Stand for America. Tell us a bit about it.
Well, first, I want to thank you for having me even after the fact that I'm not an ambassador anymore. I love you so much. Back at your party. I love being here. You know, the second thing is I'm learning how to Uber, and it's been interesting. You know, my kids are so embarrassed because when I finally get to my destination, I'm just sitting there, and the driver's like, "Do you need anything?" I'm like, "No, I'm waiting for someone to open the door." How embarrassing is that? It's like so embarrassing. So I'm learning how to kind of do other things, but I'm doing some speaking. doing some writing. A book is coming, so that will definitely be something I'm looking forward to. And I launched a platform, and I would so love if every single one of you would go on to www.standforamericanow.com and join, because I'm too young to stop fighting. I'm just not going to stop fighting. It's in my blood. This allows me to continue fighting for all the things I care about. It allows me to continue having a voice on the things that I think matter. And I'm not going anywhere. I mean, just because I left the UN, my husband will tell you, I'm still loud and proud and will continue to fight every single day. But I do want to end on one note, because after coming out of the UN, there's something that I think is very important to everybody. The way the political atmosphere is right now, it's so toxic. It's so toxic. And you know how you know it's toxic? It's because if you put a good piece of legislation on the table, everybody wants to know whose it is first before they decide whether to support it. That's wrong. Political parties now see each other as evil. And they're not evil. Because I've seen evil. I've seen in Democratic Republic of Congo where the military comes in, and I've heard women who've said they've taken their babies and thrown them in fires. I've been to South Sudan where they use rape as a weapon of war. I've watched as Assad has killed innocent children with chemical weapons. I stood on the bridge outside of Venezuela where the average adult has lost 24 pounds trying to cross over that bridge in the hot sun just to get the one meal they're going to have that day. That's evil. What we have are issues. Well, but those aren't evil. They're just our opponents. It's just policy. And on our worst day, America has so much to be blessed for. Every one of us should feel blessed every single day. So, stop the finger pointing and stop the fighting, and let's get some things done. But remind everyone that we are blessed. Be grateful about it, and never stop using the power of your voice, because it matters. It really does matter.
I'm going to say amen to that. And from one Carolina woman to another one, I want to say thank you on behalf of everybody in this room for your commitment to the United States of America and Israel's relationship, and for your overall leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, Ambassador Udi Meridor.
We're here at AIPAC 19 once again, and I'm here with Dr. Mark Israel, with Sandy Rosen from the Chicago Office of Israel Cancer Research Fund, ICRF. And first of all, if people want to know more about this, how can they reach you? It's a not-for-profit organization. It is based in Israel. Chicago's office, where's the office located?
We are in Northfield, Illinois.
It's in Northfield.
1 Northfield Plaza. We're right off the Eden.
Yes.
Just north of the Lombardi.
Okay, very good. So tell me, Dr. Israel, you spoke here at the conference. What innovations right now is this fund and this research making that is not happening anywhere else in the world?
Well, we fund right now just under 80 different projects at virtually every Israeli biomedical research center, and there are really a panoply of different projects ongoing throughout Israel. There's a big focus right now on enhancements and novel immunotherapies. There are new targeted therapies for cancer coming along. There are new molecular diagnostics in order to more accurately and more quickly make these diagnoses. diagnoses, and so across the spectrum. And there are things involved in cancer prevention, strategies involved in cancer prevention that are emerging from research. So I would say that there's innovation in virtually every area of cancer science.
So we just read in the news just recently about some therapies that have actually worked and reversed HIV in certain situations. Are there any cancer innovations right now that we found that certain types of cancer have actually been reversed? Is that, or is it something that's very close? Where are we with that?
Well, there are curative therapies for cancer. And one of the most remarkable things that come out of Israel in the last recent period of time, although it took several months to develop, was CAR T-cell therapy. That really is now curative in certain leukemias and is being tested in many, many other tumors.
Very nice, very nice. So I thank you both.
I just want to tell you, here's how they can reach us. Go online to www.icrfonline.org. You can find any of our chapters.
Great.
There.
Great.
Okay?
All right. Thank you both. Thank you, Dr. Israel. Thank you, Sandy. And stay with us here on Taped with Rabbi Doug at AIPAC 19. We're back here on Taped with Rabbi Doug, and we are here at AIPAC 19. I'm here with Udi Meridor. Baruch haba, welcome.
Nice to meet you.
Uri is one of the founders and creators of the City Transformer. This is an electric car which has the ability of the wheels to expand, and the car can go up to, I understand, 55 miles an hour approximately, and then the wheels can contract, and it can fit into the size of a parking spot of a motorcycle, or even go in a bicycle lane on the road. When it is contracted, it'll go up to about 25 miles an hour like that, is that right?
Exactly, that's right. We don't really believe that there is a need for huge city cars when you're driving inside cities. Just when you go outskirts, it's okay. So we redesigned the modern car to fit city, to fit share fleets, and also to fit individual driving inside cities. So what we did is we designed an electric car, a small electric car, can change its width and its dimension to fit a motorcycle width while you're driving inside city, and allowing flexibility and size of the motorcycles. And when you are getting faster, so the chassis or the lower platform widens to fit the microcar size, and then you can have the stability, safety, and visibility of the car.
So this is a 100% electric car. It runs on electricity on a full charge. Let's say with the wheels in at 25 miles an hour, and you're riding in city traffic. How long will that charge last?
So full charge on a city driving, it's around 110 miles without climate control, and a little bit less with climate control, but it costs only $1.5 cost of energy to fully charge.
Right, and in America there are a lot of places where you can charge electric cars for free, where you don't even have to pay for the charging, but if you did it in your home, it would take about $1.50.
Yep, that's it. And
how long does it take to charge the battery?
3 hours in regular electric sockets and about 10 minutes in a fast charger.
And tell me this, when someone takes this home and charges it and uses it, how long does the battery actually last on a car like this?
So the battery lasts in a car like this also around 110 miles in a few hours of driving. It's more than enough for city usage. It's enough for a few days actually, almost a week of traveling inside cities.
Very nice. Well, I want to wish you much success. Thank you for being on the show. Stay with us here at AIPAC 19 on Taped with Rabbi Doug.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ambassador Ron Dermer. Ambassador, thank you for being with us. Nice to see you again. Ambassador Dermer, Israel's security is a top priority, and the threats that Israel faces are as complex as ever. Let's start with the situation in Syria, where the majority of the threats stem from Iran's entrenchment in the country. Talk us through those threats and tell us what Israel is doing to counter them.
Well, if we're going to talk about Syria, I think it's important for me to thank President Trump for recognizing Israeli sovereignty over the border.
and will now recognize Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights. Tell us why that is so significant.
It's so significant in historical terms because 52 years ago, we acquired that territory in a defensive war. It was used for 2 decades as a platform for aggression against us. But there's one thing to achieve a military victory, which our brave soldiers did. It's another thing to translate that military victory into a diplomatic victory. And it took us 52 years to do that. And I think it will formally be declared that diplomatic victory tomorrow at the White House. And the people of Israel are very grateful to President Trump. Now, you asked me about Syria. If you were interviewing 100 Israelis and you asked them, what do you want to see in Syria, you'll get 100 different answers. But if you ask them what you don't want to see in Syria, you're going to get only one answer, the same answer, is we want Iran out. The question is, how do you achieve that goal? You have to put massive pressure on Iran so it decides that the fight in Syria is not worth it to them. And we've been doing that for the last couple of years. How have we been doing that? First, there's been enormous U.S. economic pressure. And that was because of, I think, the most critical decision that President Trump has made during his presidency, which is to withdraw from the nuclear deal and restore American sanctions against Iran. This has started an enemy that vows to destroy the Jewish state of tens of billions of dollars already, and over the course of this deal, hundreds of billions of dollars that were fueling Iran's war machine against us and against our neighbors. So the first thing is U.S. economic pressure. The second thing is Israel's military action. You know, we're very proud of the fact that we don't ask others to fight our battles for us, and Israel has hit Iranian positions in Syria well over 200 times, as our former military chief of staff said a couple of months ago. And we're going to continue to do, everyone should be very clear about that, Israel's going to do whatever we have to do to defend our state and to defend our people. And the third thing has been the U.S. presence in Syria that is actually blocking a land bridge between the Caspian Sea and the Mediterranean. And the U.S. has announced that it's going to leave some of those soldiers there that have done a fantastic job at preventing Iran from just simply rushing through this whole region with arms and weapons. But this decision that happened yesterday, I think, sends a very, this week, and then I think will be formalized tomorrow, sends a very strong message. It sends a strong message to the enemies of Israel and to the people of Israel that America stands with Israel. And that's the best message to send.
AIPAC and Israel have traditionally had bipartisan support. Do you think that is still the case?
Yes, I think we have bipartisan support, and what I would tell to the people here connecting for good is that you are supporting two of the greatest forces for good in the world. America, as superpowers go, is the greatest force for good in the history of the world. And for everything you do to make this alliance stronger than ever.
And on that optimistic note, I will thank you. A big round of applause, please, for Ambassador.
Thank you.
Well, that's it for part one here on Taped with Rabbi Doug at the Washington Convention Center. Remember, you can check out our website, www.tvrabbi.com. You can also see former shows on the web. If you want to email us or any of my guests, info@tvrabbi.com is the email address, and I will forward it on to the guest, who I'm sure will get back to you. You don't want to miss next time, AIPAC 19 Part 2, but always be with us right here on Taped with Rabbi Doug. Shalom, everyone.
Gonna see Rabbi Doug on the TV tonight.
This has been a Taped with Rabbi Doug production.